was playing with his Dutch friends to enter the society, the couple, where people enjoy drinking orange grass. But all of a sudden, he was stopped by someone while being shown the words verboden toegang voor honden and inlanders. It is written in Dutch. In English, it means no entry to dog and the indigenous. Knowing his being discriminated, he came home and cried and asked about this problem to his parent. And the parent told him the main problem was in his skin complexion. This ironic story was told by Professor Emil Salim in the NK podcast. He was 19 years old professor who lived before the independence, after the independence, and also after the revolution. So he has many experience through three era. And I just want to know, imagine you were in his position, felt and witnessed the discrimination. In addition, you are not free 100% to live your life as a citizen. That would be so dramatically hard. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Asmar Bana. I'm from the major of Academic Development, batch 218. I will give my speech under the title, The Reminiscent History to Nourish the Patriotic Sense. Why do I choose history? Because I just so much in love with the history. Because from history, we can learn from the past event that has been done by our ancestors. Because nobody knows, history will repeat in our era with the different actors, with the different era, but sometimes it could give the same problem. So, why I believe history? Because history, we can learn from the mistake that has been made by our ancestors in order that mistake not being repeated by us in our era.
3.5 century Indonesia was colonized by the Dutch. 3.5 years Indonesia was colonized by
the Japan. The bitter taste of colonialization has been passed by this nation. On August 17th, 1945 became a historic moment when two proclaimers from Indonesia declared Indonesia's independence. Hereby, Indonesians been to be the independent by de facto. But this independence did not make the colonizers willing to give up their powerful grip on Indonesia, as evidenced by July to August 1947. Dutch government launched military aggression to Indonesia, which killed approximately 150,000 people from Indonesia's side. Through the history, the bitter history, starting from the rebellions, starting from Surabaya, Bandung Lautan Api, and much more. Not only that, Dutch carried out their second military aggression on 19th and 20th December 1948, which killed 128 Indonesian soldiers. This was so ironic, even though Indonesia has been independent, but the Dutch government did not willing to give up. These two historical events above serve as a reminder that Indonesia's independence was not achieved easily. It took hard struggle, showers of sweating, of bloodshed, an inevitable casualties in order to gain independence. Then after independence, there's still more fighting. There is still more military aggression from the Dutch government. This indicates that independence is not one's lifetime achievement. The sustainability of independence is more important than its attainment. The sustainability of independence needs to be maintained. Currently, my question is, how do we, as young generation, as a young people, as the next generation, how do we feel this independence? How do we maintain the sovereignty of our nation? How do we ensure that Indonesia could survive, that become our legacy to our grandchild later? Considering there are so many threats out there that could endanger the integrity of Republic Indonesia. So, therefore, as a counter to these threats, all Indonesian citizens must understand the concept of state defense. What is state defense? Okay, let me define what the state defense is. State defense is the determination, attitude, behavior, and actions of citizens both individually or collectively in maintaining the sovereignty of the state, territorial integrity, and the safety of the nation, which is animated by their love to unitary state of the Republic Indonesia. And it is done based on Pancasila and the Constitution of Indonesia 1945, which is aimed to ensure the survival of the Indonesian people and the state from various threats. So, here is the thing. There are three meanings of the state defense that could be part of mine. The first, to maintain the sovereignty. And the second, your love to your country. And the third, the survival of the nation, the survival of Indonesia. So you must understand these three bottom lines. Upon maintaining the sovereignty and integrity of Republic Indonesia, we must also know the characteristic of this nation. So that's why we have to know the strength of our nation and we have to know the weakness of our nations in order to be prepared from all the threats. Yeah. This nation consists of many tribes, islands, languages. To give a picture how heterogeneous our nations is, I will mention the number. There are about 70,000 islands, 700 ethnics, and 100 languages. That's so heterogeneous. Logically, the diversity makes us vulnerable to be divided. But we agree that the Pancasila ideology and the 1945 Constitution become our unifier. If we can understand this concept, it means that we already understand the geopolitical uses by Indonesia, which is manifested in the concept of national insight, or commonly it is abbreviated as WASPA, or in Bahasa, Wawasan Kebangsaan. It means a perspective on how the Indonesian nation sees itself and uses what it has to achieve the national goals. After knowing that Indonesia is vulnerable to be divided, efforts should be made to safeguard the integrity Republic of Indonesia. Therefore, we need to examine more the concept of national resilience. National resilience is Indonesia's geostrategy, which is a follow-up to Indonesia's geopolitics, national insight. National resilience needs to be maintained because, like individuals, one individual may prey on another individual. The interest of another nation, sometimes it could be a threat to our nation. So, how do we maintain the integrity of Republic Indonesia? The first thing to do, we must be able to determine, to define the threat, because threat divided from 8 aspects of life, or in Sanskrit, it is said as Asta Gatra. Asta means 8, Gatra means aspect of life. Today's threats are not physically invisible, which makes us difficult to make a counter. Not to mention, if we define word today as no longer used in a weaponry warfare, because it develops into ideological warfare, technological warfare, or even biological warfare. Therefore, Indonesia should establish the concept of defending state as national political strategy, with the aim of Indonesian citizens to love their country and defend their country, which ultimately it could lead the integrity of Republic Indonesia maintained. State defense, according to the provision, is a method that must be implemented for every Indonesian citizen, whether old, young, children. State defense must be performed, regardless of your generation, Generation Y, Generation Z, or even Generation Alpha, because the strong national resilience is formed from the individual resilience. Next, continue to family resilience, regional resilience, and then to be national resilience. Come back again, perhaps this theme is limited to millennials, but I encourage you to all generations to have the sense of patriotic, to have the sense of state defense. Considering that the nation's threat is broad, the counter must also broad. Well, as from the 8 aspects, politics, ideology, politics, economy, social, cultural, security, and also the defense. All Indonesian citizens must strive together to defend the country. State defense today does not have to use weapons. The most important thing is all of your contribution in terms of advancing and maintaining the integrity of Indonesia. It can be accounted as state defense. If you like a sport, choose a sport, one certain sport, and hone your skill, and then make Indonesia be proud in international arena. If you are influencer, create a positive content to invite young people to love their homeland. If you have a passion in teaching, give your past contribution to participate in educating the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, Abraham Lincoln ever stated, nations do not die from invasion, they die from internal rottenness. Here means we must not be the rottenness which could weaken our nation. And to open your awareness for patriotism, I quote a word from John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Okay, that's it. Open your eyes widely, my fellow Indonesians. Be more aware to a national threat and make your best contribution. The last but not the least, be patriotic in your way. Choose your passion and build Indonesians together to make Indonesia a better future. Thank you.